All right, your boy Mixmaster B here live from the MMB Radio studios for the MMB Radio Podcast, where no topic is too big or too small. We talk about them all. And on the phone lines right now, I have a woman have you seen on Brazzers, Evil Angel, Wicked, Naughty America, Elegant Angel, so many other sites. The one and only Lylith LaVey. How are you?
Good. I was just waiting for you to mention ChristianMingle.com.
ChristianMingle.com, yes. You know, you might even.
In my head, had to come out.
You know what? One of the ones I always love. One of the things I always say with these different websites, these like eHarmonies and these Christian Mingles and everything. The one that always made me laugh and giggle was Black People Meet. And I'm just like, when you hear it the first time, you're like, Black People Meet. You're like, okay, yeah, Black people meet there. But like, I'm thinking of like Black People's Meet.
Wait, oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
You're
I'm like,
more perverted than I am.
I told my friends that. I'm like, yeah, Black People's Meet.
Things.
I'm like, oh, that's nice. I was like, I'm a little leery about what I might see there if I go there, you know. But then they got that one with farmers too, which is kind of funny too. Farmers Meet or something like that. So there's a website for yes, there's a website for everybody, but
Congratulations! Within the first 30 seconds of this interview, you have just completely shown that you are much dirtier than I am. That's all right. I'll catch up. Let's see what we can do about that.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us, and we'll see how quickly you can catch up with us. So you're an adult film star. Do you prefer adult film star or an adult entertainer, or do you care?
I look at it kind of like tomato. I prefer entertainer just because I'm not just an adult film star. I have to do a lot of stuff with dancing. I'm a very multifaceted person in terms of my jobs. So
entertainer kind of
it is what it is, you know. It's not like if I'm in a strip club feature dancing and somebody's like, oh, so you're a stripper. I'm not going to freak out and be like, it's dancer, goddammit.
I'm an exotic dancer.
Yeah.
I'm an adult.
It's not considered an art form if you know, if I go out there and I'm twirling fire and people enjoy it and they love my shows and I love doing them. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what they want to see is me naked. And that doesn't offend me. I know that's the reason that I'm there. So you can't lie to yourself. Mm-hmm. It never ends up well.
So you've been doing this for how long now?
Mm-hmm.
Put you on the spot.
The timeline is, let's see. I officially started, like, with an agent and that whole, you know, business when it was getting popular and everybody started having agents. In 2010, I was still living in Pennsylvania, so I did the bi-coastal thing. Mm-hmm.
And what was that like?
Sorry for 1 second. Somebody just geniusly turned my ADT on.
I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Where were we? Where were we?
I was interrupting you actually, and I was going to say you said you were living in Pennsylvania and you were doing a bi-coastal thing.
I'm so sorry. 28821.
Someone's trying to kidnap you from the podcast. That's a first.
Okay.
Now, you see, I always have the best guests on because everybody wants to steal my guests. Now they're trying to rob you and take you away from me. But I was saying that you're doing the bi-coastal thing, and how was that?
I was. You know, I didn't realize how bad it sucked until it was just kind of. It wasn't. I can't use the word epiphany, but when it got to the point that I was traveling back and forth so much between. I was living in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is the capital of Pennsylvania, but there's absolutely nothing there. Mm-hmm. And I was flying back and forth to LA so much, spending money on hotels and model houses and travel. I didn't even bother unpacking my suitcases when I started getting very busy, and I just kind of looked at my boyfriend at that time and was like, why the fuck are we still living in Pennsylvania? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word or not, but I just did.
You just did.
And so it definitely was not easy, but we purged. We gave away most of our crap that isn't important anyway. Our friends came over like vultures, and we just took off and came out here. And I have been here. Oh man, I've been here for almost 5 years.
Now, one of the things people always want to know when I have adult film stars or adult entertainers on the podcast, they want to know like how you got started. How did it all come about? Kind of take us through that journey.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest. Mine was, it could not be more of the more cliche, stereotypical story of girl becomes stripper when she's young, girl starts making a lot of money. I was in college at the time. I was also working in a tattoo shop, and I was just having fun with that. You know, I didn't consider it a career choice or anything. I was doing some modeling as well, so I was dabbling in a little bit of everything, experimenting. And because of working in the tattoo shop and having that alt look, I had offers from Suicide Girls and, tattoo magazines. So I started off with modeling, and I really enjoyed that, even though it paid shit. I was fine with just having fun with it. I started getting all these offers for the way that they word it is very particular, to say in the least, and it's kind of funny. It's a little skeevy. And I just kept saying no politely to these offers until, and I remember even saying, because I was not snobby or anything, I was not even 20 years old yet, and I remember looking my boyfriend in the face and saying, the hell with that. I am not going to be the stereotypical stripper who dances for a year or two and then goes into porn. And then I got an email from a very well-known, prominent agency out here, and they basically offered me airfare and a place to stay, just to do one shoot for Brazzers. And they basically said, look, we want you to come out here. We would really like to, see you in person, and we think that there's more to it than what you realize. So we're willing to pay for your expenses if you come out here and just do one shoot. And then if you don't like it, you never have to do it again, and we'll send you home. And if you do like it, then we can go from there. And guess what happened?
Needless to say, you liked it, huh?
Yeah, and actually for a first scene, now that I think about it, that site's not even up anymore because it was, I guess, a little bit too hardcore.
Now when you
and it was a group scene. It wasn't like I started off with like girl or something.
Now, when you first jumped into it, and like had you watched porn? Were you a fan of porn? Like where you say you don't want to be the stereotypical, so like. How was the transition? Was it simple enough?
Even before the whole sexuality kicked in and my personality, during my lifetime, I was always an entertainer. I was always the one out of the family that would, grab a hairbrush and like jump up onto the kitchen table to try and get attention, just because I just liked to perform. I loved to make people laugh, make people just, have a good time in any way, shape, or form. And then once I found dancing at a very young age as well, I fell in love with it, all different forms. So that was kind of the basis for me kind of finding my niche within the industry, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I kind of lost my train of thought. I don't think I really answered your question. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, is when you obviously you're doing exotic dancing or stripping or whatever you want to call it, and you're used to being out there and everybody's seeing you naked, and you said you had a freaky side. So, going into it, like, was there any nerves when you were doing the first scene, or was it kind of like, all right, this kind of feels natural, and I never knew I would be doing this?
Maybe it was nerves. I believe I was definitely trying to, for lack of a better term, overcompensate, because I do recall them kind of giggling when we would cut here and there, and somebody saying about, like, you know, the more that I slap her ass, the harder she fucks me, or something like that. And so it was just, I was trying to be the prize horse that day. I was trying to not jump headfirst into the porn industry, but I figured if I decide, you know, after I think about this, that I don't like it, I want to rock this scene out, like, and say later on in my life, hey, I tried porn, and, you know, the scene was not bad. I gave it my all. I wanted to make sure I gave myself as much of a full experience, so to speak, as I could.
Now, when they told you that, like, you will do one scene, if you don't like it, you know, you don't have to do it anymore, but you do realize that once you shot that scene, that it's out there forever. You know, so there was, like, even if you didn't want to do it again, it still was going to be out there. Did that ever cross your mind? Like, if I do this...
It did. It did. I was very fortunate in the sense and the aspect that I was in a relationship for 7 years, and in the first 2 years was when I was dancing / and or getting into the industry very slowly. And so technically my first quote unquote scene, which I don't really count, was with my boyfriend, some type of like hand job massage table thing, but it was more like a clips for sale. And it seemed shady to us, and, you know, but we did it just so that I could have done technically my first one with him. And he was just, like, I couldn't have asked for a better partner, in terms of supporting me in my decision and being cool with, you know, just about all of it. Not just about all of it. He was cool with everything, and he was the one boyfriend that, you know, was allowed on set, was allowed to come pick me up. Was like nobody minded him because everybody knew he was chill. He wasn't gonna like have a freak out or anything.
So, kind of take us back to Harrisburg when you were growing up. You said you've always been a freak.
Well, I didn't grow up in Harrisburg.
Okay, where did you originally grow up then?
Oh God.
Everywhere.
Do I have to admit this? Okay.
You don't have to tell us.
No, I just.
Is there people back home that might, like, know what you do?
So,
or?
like, the whole, like, saying coal miner's daughter, oh, yeah, everybody back home knows what I do. Mm-hmm. My family, I mean, my little brother, and, you know, he's actually visiting me right now in LA for the first time. He's in California. So it's cool. I'm really glad that my family, you know, has accepted it. I mean, it's not like they came up to me and, like, you know, shook my hand and, like, hey, good job or anything. Mm-hmm. But I think especially my mom kind of took it like I was that child, in terms of she figured I was just doing it for the shock value, I guess. She didn't think it would stick. And first it was don't ask, don't tell. And then all of a sudden everybody had questions, and it was kind of funny. My mom would be calling me here and there, asking me, like, well, what happens if you have to shoot a scene and you're not feeling good that day? Or what happens? Or some really graphic stuff that I won't say on here.
You call out of work sick, you know?
Yeah, well, that's not exactly the question she was asking me, but she was something about, you know, that time of the month. And I was like, really, yeah. Mother? Yes.
Now, you say your little brother's visiting you. How old is your little brother? Is he like a teenager? Or like?
He's 3 years younger than me.
Okay. So he's old enough
24.
So he's old enough to know what you do, and
right.
Did he know before you did it, or did he kind of like stumble across it? Because that would be
One of
my
the worst
fear.
phone calls I've ever got in my life was, I guess he was hanging out. I was working in a strip club. He was hanging out with some of his college buddies. And he kept calling me. Finally I answered, because I usually don't, it's loud in strip clubs, so I don't, talk on the phone. And I said, "Is everything okay?" And he just goes, "Sis, just answer one question for me really quick. Does the name Lylith LaVey mean anything to you?" And I said, "Bro," and I heard like people giggling, his friends giggling in the background. And I said, "Bro, you know what? Just trust me on this one. Whatever it is, don't look at it. Anything to do with that, don't look at it." And he
Click
went,
off
"Oh,
that.
mother." And it hadn't occurred to me until that very phone call that I pretty much ruined porn for the poor kid.
Well, now all his friends think he's like super cool because his sister does porn.
Yes and no. Yes and no. He works as a bartender managing, and he manages a bar in the, it's not even a one-horse town. It's like maybe like a 1 3-legged horse town type of place. Very, very depressing, but it's got its few perks. But he has an entire I feel bad for him, because when people go into the bar and they get drunk,
they start saying stupid shit.
He did admit this to me. I found this out from a friend, which I thought was very kind of noble of him to not. I guess he thought it would upset me, but I don't care. And apparently people would go in, and every once in a while some drunken guy who I had hooked up with, or maybe not even, all it took was, "Yo, so how's your sister been doing?" all sloshed. And then he would be barred for life from the bar. So he's protective of me. But even aside from that, I don't blame him. I wouldn't, trying to put myself in his shoes, I wouldn't want to deal with it either.
Now, growing up, did you have a lot of boyfriends? Or you say you've always been a freak. Where did the freaky side come from?
I don't know. I was always very curious. I was always blunt. I was always the one that said the thing that, everybody was maybe not everybody was thinking, but that, wasn't supposed to be said at the dinner table, that type of thing. Okay, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I believe it might have been first and second grade. I was homeschooled. I have 2 older sisters and 1 little brother. And my mom was homeschooling the 3 youngest. And she's also babysitting. We would trade off with different homeschooling moms. And I ended up in a room with a female my age, and we were supposed to be working on our homework or assignments, doesn't matter. Instead, we were playing Barbies, and I guess she had just found out that her mom was pregnant. And she was trying to tell me this bizarre story of like a Keebler elf style, like stork putting a baby in an oven, and that's how it's. And of course, me was like,
the
no,
blunt
no,
one's
no,
like,
no,
it's
no.
not how that works.
Yeah, I was like, that's not how it happens. And so as I'm literally demonstrating this with the Barbies, my mom walks in, and I actually remember her face trying not to laugh. Like trying to make this like serious. And was like, all right, that's it. No more Barbies for you for a while. And took them all away.
So you knew all this in like the age of like a second grader?
Yeah.
Now, where did you learn all
I
this
did.
from? Like, were you watching like enormous amounts of television that you weren't supposed to, or?
No, we didn't have. We were lucky if we had like basic cable.
Because like, who has those conversations with their children at second grade level? This is how the birds and the bees,
Right. I think it has something to do with and don't get all sappy on me here, because it happened years ago when I was 2, but my real dad passed away when I was 2. And so my mom used to always show me pictures from like when I was born, and would tell me the story of her going into labor, et cetera, et cetera. And between all of that and the fact that my bedroom was diagonally, like the window for it was diagonally across from my stepdad and my real mom's room. And I didn't know any better. I was just curious. It was very embarrassing when I got busted, but I had no idea what was going on. I didn't see anything because of the blinds, but something happened where one of them got up, and then they both came in, and they didn't have the official talk with me, but they were basically like, you are way too young to be even remotely interested in this, just this is private adult stuff. So then I kind of backed it up a little bit, because I was starting to think, wow, maybe I am like a freak. So I toned it down for, I don't know, 5 minutes or a year or 2.
So 5 minutes.
I would say by 5th grade, we were very beat around the bush, politically correctly told in different ways by different neighbors that I was no longer welcome to play with their daughters anymore. And it wasn't like I was like burning down houses or like killing animals or, doing anything like sadistic. It was just information. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like that's all I talked about. But
your daughter just won't shut up about sex. You may want to go get her checked out.
I remember actually overhearing a conversation. I'm sure, unless this is just like completely wrong, and I have had it wrong all my life, almost everybody has overheard their parents talking about them, late at night through the wall or from your room or whatever, in terms of something you've gotten in trouble doing. And the way that they just had no idea how to handle me.
Now, was it because you just had like no filter? Like you just spoke out and not realizing that like, okay, what she's saying is not inaccurate. It's just not something that someone that age should be speaking to other children of that age. Like you were kind of like teaching some of these kids the birds and the bees and not allowing their parents to really have that talk. You were just flying right over them, but like, no, I'll just do this for you.
Right. And it wasn't like a mischievous thing, or, I wasn't trying to, it wasn't like malicious. I was just...
It was an unconscious thing. You really didn't know what you were doing was...
It excited me that I knew something.
No one else did.
Because I was sure I knew the right answer, So, of course, the Italian in me or whatever it was, I was like, absolutely, I will educate you, because pushing on your belly button is not how that baby is coming out of your mother. And that was the 3rd grade teacher down the street, our neighbor, who no longer invited me over to play as well.
So did you have
friends when you're a little perv?
Yeah. a little 5th grade-year-old perv. Now, when did you finally start to act on all the sexual knowledge that you had? You're like a little mini Dr. Ruth.
I don't know who that is. Should I?
Well, I mean, it's as long as you didn't do anything illegal.
Well, no. A little mini Dr. Who?
Dr. Ruth. Like the sex expert. You're like a little mini. You're like a Doogie Howser of like sex knowledge.
Oh, see, I like that nickname way better. Okay, I can go with that.
So that's what I'm saying. So when did you actually act on all this knowledge that you had in your head that you were just willing to give free information to?
It actually took a while. I went through a tomboy stage that probably will never end. And wasn't like, ooh, boys have cooties, but I would be the one that, when we would go to church, I would get caught in the play area outside, the only girl there, like wrestling, straight up wrestling on the ground with the boys, and I used to get spanked a lot, which I'm not complaining. I think it's, definitely made me into a well-rounded human being. But they did the best they could. I definitely, I wouldn't want to have to deal with a little me, because I was a weird little kid.
But look how awesome you are now. I mean, geez, everybody loves you now.
Yeah. So the age that, let's see, I went camping a lot. I want to say like between like 8 to 12 years old. My sister and I would go camping in RV. And it actually just all came together for me about a year ago, and if it hadn't been for my friend, I wouldn't have even realized it. I'm getting to a point here, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
This one campground, that was our favorite one, in the play area where there was, an arcade and then the basketball court. Of course, you got to have the shuffleboard for the old people. There were also these 2 poles, and kids would race climbing the poles so that you could, ring the bell at the top. And I had very strong legs all my life. I did not climb the pole like you're supposed to with your legs wrapped around it. I don't know how to explain this over the phone, but if you can mentally picture it, I would kind of yoga style, put my feet together and almost frogger it up the pole.
Mm-hmm.
And I got very, very good at it very quickly, and was, the fastest one, and I was always down there practicing. And the reason was because the first time I did it, about halfway up the pole, I got this funny little feeling that I'd never had before. And it was very, very interesting. And I'm just going to leave it at that, because I don't know what all the rules are on talking about that in this.
It's the internet. There's no censorship.
Okay, so before I knew what an orgasm was, I had one, and they could not get me off that damn pole. From the time I woke up, and I was having at it.
So you're basically were humping this pole.
Yes.
Okay.
But I was making progress. I was humping my way up towards the bell. I got there eventually.
Yeah. there was a mission to this whole humping thing. It wasn't like you were just doing it for.
Well, yeah, I had a cover. It just wasn't a very good one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the kid next to me who's racing me, and he's like, "What the hell is she doing?" Because he's climbing, correctly or in correct form, and I'm the one that has the bottoms of my feet pressed together on either side of the pole, and I'm basically doing squats up against the pole while I'm pulling my arms up. So everything was just kind of raw, right there.
So after the pole experience,
after that, I took off like a rocket. I was like, how else can I get this done? Because this is fantastic.
Now, were you experimenting with different masturbation techniques, or obviously you knew that was a sensitive area now, so were you touching yourself a lot?
No, I was uncomfortable enough with that, and I didn't even know that was an option. It was more I would find a pillow or whatever and try and get it done that way. And that got old very quickly, within months. And that's when the tomboy started dressing a little more like a lady and not trying to get attention from boys necessarily, but just kind of trying to figure out how this all went. So it was a research period of all right, I'm going to spy on my older sister for a little bit and see exactly how this works.
So when did the first boy experience happen? Like, when did you... I'm assuming you probably took this guy's virginity. Yeah, I mean, I'm for some reason, I'm just thinking that you're probably the aggressor in all of these situations. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I wasn't always. Well, if I wasn't the instigator, I was definitely still always the one in control.
Okay.
But nobody's gonna want to believe this, but male talent that have worked with me has complimented me quite a bit, and I hope that this little perk of mine never goes away. I have a theory that from dancing and doing so much fitness with swinging my own body weight around, that luckily, and I have had no children, but I guess, quote unquote, for being in porn for, more than a few years, I'm pretty fit down there.
Okay.
Pretty tight. And I, knock on wood, hope that never goes away. So I had a point to this. Where do we start here? Oh, right.
So a boy approached you?
Me always being in control, it was, I've tortured a lot of guys. Didn't mean to. It was just, I was into the kissing. I had a lot of dry humping, make-out sessions in my bedroom, to the point where, I don't know if this was the best move on her part, but I was barely 14, I believe, and I had my boyfriend over, and all of a sudden my bedroom door flung wide open, and I'm, mortified, and all I saw was, the huge box, it could have been it could have been a friggin' board game for as big as this box of condoms was. My mom had just, bowling balled it into my room and was like, you better be fucking using this. And...
Well, she already knew the type of child you were growing up, so it was like...
Right.
There's no trying to bring you back. If I'm going to do anything, at least I'm going to make sure you're doing it the safe and right way.
She was good about that. Yeah, absolutely. But these poor guys... I was given lap dances before I even knew what a lap dance was, because it felt good for me. Definitely hell of a lot better than rubbing up against a pole. And these poor bastards just, were biding their time, hoping that eventually I would give in, or... and I was actually one of the last ones in my group of friends to lose my virginity. That being said, like a lady, I lost my virginity at 14. I lived in kind of an expensive neighborhood. It was a gated community with 2 huge lakes, and all the kids would go hang out at the docks and, drink beer or whatever. Kind of hang out in their cars, make out, that type of thing. So I remember I was wearing camouflage pants for some reason. I think they were hand-me-downs from my stepdad being in the military. And it was summertime, and we were parked at one of the docks. We were the only ones there. And I lost my virginity on the hood of a very, very old Camaro to an older guy, but he wasn't even 18 yet, so it was okay. Except it was very, very painful for me, and to him it didn't count. To me, I was like, the hell that it didn't, that hurt, I'm done. And he's probably kicking himself today because he was bitching to his friends. I found out a few days later. Apparently I left a butt print on the hood of his car. I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear what he says to people about that now.
Now, you said he was older, but you said he was 18?
He was 17,
okay.
About to turn 18.
Okay.
Yeah. He was my best friend's cousin, too, so it wasn't...
No, When you were in high school,
Good.
though, like, did you have a lot of boyfriends, or were you promiscuous? Did you have a lot of sexual partners, or?
I was pretty promiscuous, but I knew how to go about it so that I didn't need to scare the guy into being quiet about it. It was more he knew that if he said something, if I didn't want her to say anything, that he was going to end up being the one embarrassed and not me. So
having the rep that you had and, being a freak, did a lot of guys, did they just want to hook up with you just so they could see if they could get sex from you? Or, like, did guys really want to date you and be in a relationship with you, or was it just for sexual reasons?
From what I know, most of them did want to be in a relationship with me. It was usually more cerebral. There has to be something cerebral there for me in order to be attracted sexually to somebody. There's got to be a hint of something there. Obviously, looks help, but women aren't as visual as men.
So when did you?
I was the one chick in my freshman class that had dreadlocks. Let's put it that way. But I was also the only chick in my freshman class that got invited to go to senior prom, which my sister was a senior that year, and out of respect for her, and just because I didn't want to wear a dress, I didn't go.
But you had a perfect opportunity to do something that no one else did, but you were afraid you were going to be taking away, like, attention or spotlight from her?
Right, okay. Yeah. And, I mean, she was straight shooter, also, like, overachiever, valedictorian, and all that, and, it was a respect thing that it was like there was no question about it.
So at what point were you, did you get involved with girls? And do you consider yourself to be bisexual, or?
Oh, yeah. Even before I knew what the word meant, I was bisexual. And I guess it first started with the almighty, let's play house with me and a couple of my girlfriends, which ended up, for some reason, setting up some type of makeshift bullshit house setting in, like, someone's basement or whatever, and then ended up somewhere dry humping and making out.
And at what age was this? Was this teenager or younger?
This was preteen. And I remember specifically two. Both of them were neighbors on either, like, one was across from me, one was next to me. And it was kind of like we were all participating in it with each other for a while. And then all of a sudden one day, one of them just kind of, we could see it in her face, and she sat up and she was like, guys, I don't think we're supposed to be doing this. And she kind of got like, she started talking about religion, and after that I had kind of tuned her out and was like, all right,
mute button.
I didn't want to be disrespectful. It wasn't that. It wasn't mute button. It was just, and I realized at that point she had made her decision, but that wasn't for her. As for the other chick, we were down in the basement for probably most of the summer.
Now, was it just dry humping, or did you actually go to full-blown sex?
Just from what I remember, just dry humping.
And when did you have, like, full-blown sex with a girl?
Wow, I'd really have to think about that. I honestly don't know. No one's
I'm
ever asked
assuming
that. That's a good question, and I'm going to think about that. If I remember, I'll get back to you on that one.
I'm assuming
We'll put it on Twitter so everybody listening can figure it out.
Yeah, like now, was it a good thing or a bad thing? That like, is it bad that you just don't remember, or?
I think the reason why I don't remember is because it was a little discouraging after a while because there was a lot of hit and misses in terms of blurred lines between, oh yeah, we're preteens and we're teens and we're gonna go hang out at the arcade and put a shit ton of makeup on and dress up like sluts and occasionally kiss each other and holding hands, going to the bathroom together, that type of thing. But it was more like a kid just to get attention type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas since I was totally down, I couldn't really differentiate. So I just kind of, it makes me sound like such a hound. I just kind of tried to go for it with anybody that I was attracted to. And I freaked out a few of my friends.
Now, were you more of the aggressor type of girl, or like were you?
Yes.
All right, so you were.
When it comes to chicks, I'm very, very shy. But
Mm-hmm.
once I know that they're interested or they reciprocate in any way, any type of physical activity that is of the sexual nature, to me, in my head, I'm like, all right, sweet, I got the golden ticket, game on, let's do this.
So if they're DTF, you're full game.
I'm already there, yeah.
So now with girls, do you enjoy being the giver, or do you enjoy being, do you receive more? Like, what do you enjoy with being with a girl?
I'm dominant, so I guess I would probably be the giver more, but it kind of gets me off doing that. I maybe could count on one hand how many times I've been submissive with women. And it's not like a show off thing. It's just always been in my nature. Just like the dominatrix thing. When I started dancing, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about porn. And I had quite a few customers in the strip club who were regulars of mine start asking me, have you ever, done any dominatrix work? And at that time I'm like, ew, no, what is that? That's all like lips and chains. And next thing you know, I've had hired security standing outside a hotel room, and he's texting me saying, you might want to calm down a little bit because this guy's just screaming really loudly and it sounds like you're killing him. I went, and it's not like I jumped into it with no training. I went and I trained with a dominatrix for a while and did a decent amount of research, but I still was very, very young, and I was still in college, and I realized after one session that even though I'm a very old soul, so to speak, and have lived a lot for even at that age I was at, I didn't want that type of power over someone. I didn't feel like I was ready for that because, God forbid, something would have happened. I wouldn't have been able to forgive myself. And I'm not talking about physical wounds at all. I'm talking about mental. Because there's a lot of, it's therapeutic more so than anything, in my opinion. It's very psychological.
Well, we have some fan questions that we took off of Twitter. So
Okay.
hopefully, you seem like you're pretty open about answering things, so we'll just jump right into them. One of the ones is a really cool one. Is that it goes on to say that you have a lot of like tattoos on your arm and everything. Can you explain what all your tattoos are for people who are wondering like what they are and what they mean, if they have any kind of meaning to them?
Certainly. So they're probably referring to my left arm, which is barely a finish. It's got like, wooden less than an inch and a half away from being a half sleeve. And it started off occupational hazard, working in a tattoo shop. Do you guys get bored enough? Somebody's get a freaking tattoo. And it's usually the rookie, which was me. So I was very much so into my guitar at the time. I didn't have to have fake nails for work. I was in college, and I was actually very, very into my art and into my music more so than ever in my life. So on the inner forearm, I have a tribute to the first guitar, brand new guitar that I bought with my own money that had not been used before. It wasn't a hand-me-down. And I was so proud of that. And it still is. It's sitting right in front of me. Such a beautiful Schecter Diamond Series that I was like, you know what? That's going to be the centerpiece. So we started with that, and it's shaded the same maroon color as my actual guitar. And everybody thinks this has something to do with Slash because, right, the neck of the guitar is twisted around a skull with a pinstripe top hat. It has nothing to do with Slash. I just wanted a skull with a pinstripe top hat, and it just kind of ended up looking, like that style, but that's okay. So then, next to that, essentially it's musical inspiration for me, for the most part. And I take a little bit from album art, from my favorite albums, from my favorite artists, and I tweak it a little, and that's kind of how it morphed into what it is. So I have another tattoo for a band called the XXX, which is just a mouth open wide, with a nice red juicy lips, and it's sucking on an eyeball. And then right next to that, diagonally up from that, is the, everybody thinks it's from that weird Disney movie or something, but it's the Corn doll from the Issues album, where it's got like the, right, so we've got the XXX, we've got Corn, and then my favorite, which will probably always be my favorite tattoo, the gentleman who's now retired and taught me how to tattoo, did a Pink Floyd tattoo for me, and it covers the entire top of my wrist. It's solid black, pink and an upside down S, and then diagonally through the middle is the dark side of the moon rainbow with the square or the triangle. You knew with my shapes. And then I wanted the pink flower, like from the wall coming out of the side of it, but we made sure to draw it up so that it was basically in between, right when the flower morphs into a chick's legs. And then on the back of that same arm, I have my only black and gray piece, which is from my favorite band of all time, Blur. And that was from it's like 20 scuba gear. It's like a couple just holding each other like they're going to hug or something and go deep sea diving like 300 years ago with that heavy metal stuff going on. It looks cool. Underneath that, there's a mosquito for another XXX album. And then the only one that doesn't really fit the profile, except for me, possibly, because I believe he was one of the biggest rock and rollers of all time, is a picture of the portrayal of the Ralph Steadman piece of Hunter S. Thompson with his colorful shirt and his hat and his glasses with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he's got the suitcase, which is dripping nothing in particular, but we all know what is dripping out of that suitcase.
Yeah.
And they have it set up so he's kind of like creeping in towards my tattoo. And then there is, goodness, I really did do a lot of tributes to the Gorillaz and Blur. It's the same lead singer.
Yeah.
I have a huge Gorillaz tattoo. right above my elbow. So that's just one arm.
Now, what about going across, under your navel?
I always get this one. It's an Italian.
Mm-hmm.
I got that as a kind of as a promise to my great-great-grandfather. My one side of the family could not be any more Italian. And the literal translation in English means, now that I've conquered my demons, I am truly free. But I get that question a lot. So every once in a while, just to mess with some drunk people, I make some shit up, and they usually don't notice it.
So another question someone posted is they noticed that you do a lot of your acts, your entertainment acts with flames and fire, and how did that all come about, and how did you learn how to do that?
I got lucky. I wanted to take like a hula hoop class or something because I heard it was really, really easy to get your abs, whatever. It was supposed to be good for you. And after that class, which was so-so, I wouldn't pay money to go back. I wasn't really impressed, and the vibe wasn't really, I mean, I meditate and I'm into all of that, but not to the degree that most people in the lifestyle like that are. So as I was leaving, packing up my things, the next group was coming in. It wasn't a class, it was like an open jam. And they just started playing really awesome music, and all these people were coming in with all these different props, hula hoops, fire fans, staffs, which is essentially just a big, long, heavy stick with wicks on the end of it. So think of like a big, thick, heavy broom, but you can light both ends on fire, which is what I specialize in. And usually females do hula hooping or poi or fans because they're more feminine, they're more sexy. And as I was leaving, I saw this one female in particular who had her stuff lit on fire, and she was like the most graceful, sensual, elegant dancer out of any of the females there, and she just made it work for her. And I immediately fell in love with it. It hasn't even been 3 years since I started staffing, and I've already taught at a few festivals. I'd really like to start teaching more, but I fell in love with all of the flow arts. So I do fire eating, fire painting, pretty much anything to do with fire. I'm willing to try at least once. And if I like it, then I'll be doing it every Wednesday, because I practice every Wednesday at a secret location in LA. We're allowed to light stuff on fire in a park.
What is your favorite thing to do? What is the favorite part about being in porn?
Favorite part about being in porn? Let's see. It's kind of, I would have to say it's kind of a tie between those rare magical moments on set where you know the crew, you know everybody there. It's, everybody's doing their part, everybody's pulling their weight, it's going well, and you're all just all day messing with each other, joking around, to the point where I've been on one set where the director was laughing so hard he dropped the camera. It's like trying not to laugh in church. It's just constant funny stuff going on.
And what don't you like about being in a business? Is there something that you just really wish would change, or if there's something you could change?
I feel like, obviously, with the few experiences that I have gone through, and they have affected me, and I hope that they have at least opened some people's eyes and helped people be, more aware, but nothing else. That you're the only one that's going to take care of yourself. You're the only one that's nobody's going to give a shit about your porn career as much as you do. is to speak up if something's not feeling right, and that you're not the only one there who might not be feeling good. You're not the only one there who might be having a bad day. Stomping around, breathing diva vibes out of whether, and the guys too, isn't going to help anybody, and it's just going to make everybody miserable.
Now, another fan wants to know, do you prefer being a blonde or a brunette?
Brunette. I hated being a blonde. Wasn't me. I didn't feel like myself. I tried it, and I think I gave it a pretty good run. I had to do so many Britney Spears spoofs because I guess I thought I looked like her and I was blonde. So I think I had my fun with it and had my run with it, but I don't see myself ever going back.
And one guy tweets in, he wants to know, what are the exact measurements?
And what are his exact measurements?
I'm not going to tweet that back to him and ask him. I might get something might slide into my DM that I don't want to see.
I'm guessing chest-wise.
Unless you are rocking a penis all of a sudden, then yeah, I would probably say your chest size.
Well, no, I don't know, the whole football cheers of 32, something else, 33, I don't fucking know. I balance my weight. I don't try to, but between dancing and working out the way that I do, especially with plyometrics and conditioning for some aerial stuff, I'll be anywhere from, let me simplify this, I will be anywhere from a 32 triple D to a 34 H.
Okay.
So it all, basically the smaller that I get around that area of my chest, like my back and then my armpits, the bigger my cup size gets.
Now, do you hate having such large breasts, or?
No, I loved them for the first couple of weeks I had them, and then once it was time to go shopping, I was so excited, and then got very discouraged very quickly.
And why is that?
Because nothing would fit. It's like most of the time I have to get custom stuff, and there's no not trying it on before you leave the store. I mean, every bra is different. Sometimes I'll fit into like a double D if it's like a 38 or something. It all depends on the bra.
So there's no set size for you. It's kind of like every brand, every style has its own fit.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I think pretty much any female who has enhanced, especially if they're silicone, everybody goes through that.
Now another.
It's not something that's really talked about, but.
Now another guy goes on. He tweets in. He goes, "What is dating life like in the business? Do you date exclusively in the business, or do you not date at all, or?"
Exclusively in the like only industry people?
Yeah, like they only date industry people, or do you date normal people?
I've never dated somebody in the industry. To my knowledge, I've gotten close. I can't say I've never fucked around with anybody because I've had a couple one-night stands here and there, but I guess I got spoiled being in a relationship for so long with a quote-unquote civilian that I could just come home and if I wanted to vent to him about a bad scene or just tell him a funny story about a good scene, and he wouldn't be like, "Ooh, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about you messing with other people." Whereas male talent, I guess, the mentality I have on set, either comes off as just like one of the guys, which is fine with me, or I don't know. Maybe it's just I haven't run into one yet that I was like, I'm going to take you home with me and lock you in my basement for a while. I just wasn't really looking within the industry.
So saying all that, what is your status right now? Are you currently dating somebody, or are you single, or?
I'm single. I'm actually kind of trying to date somebody, but making him aware of it has gotten a little awkward. So he's a civilian, and I refuse to use the word rusty, but I'm so used to you just like, oh, you like me, I like you, all right, we're going to hook up, and then if it works out and we get along, like, it's pretty much we're together almost, as much as possible after that. That's how it's always been when I've fallen for some relationship.
The civilian guy, does he have any idea what you do?
Yeah, okay. Very much so does. I hope he's not listening to this. He helped me with quite a few of my designs and props for my stage shows. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want to blow his cover, so to speak.
So ultimately you think he's pretty much cool with what you do, and this is something you could...
Yeah, he knows. He knows everything that I do.
Did you ever have a guy kind of freak out on you when you told him what you did?
No, until there was like a passive-aggressive freak out, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was under the impression everything was fine, and then I realized that I might as well have been dating a chick because I don't remember what I said the one day in a parking lot. And screaming and arms flailing, and he essentially had a fight with himself, and then I'm pretty sure he broke up with himself, and I decided to just go back up to my apartment and let him deal with his whole scenario.
How much longer do you see yourself doing entertaining, whether it be feature dancing
or
for
as long as I can?
And what about the porn side?
With the porn stuff, for my website, I have a lot of ideas that I would like to execute, and I'm really looking forward to a new type of platform. That's really all I can say about it for right now, but it is getting prepared to be released for the members soon. And I would like to focus on, I'd like to be able to not only do webcam shows for free, once a week for my members and have them have updates, but I'd like to have more input from them. I'd like to see more comments and see, which scenes they liked, what they would like to see more of.
Now, let everybody know where they can find you at online, Twitter, Instagram, because a lot of people want to stay up to date with your every single movement. Where can people find you at?
Well, first of all, I apologize. I'm not as interesting as I used to be, and I need to get back on the selfie train. But the best one, first of all, would be www.lylithlavey.com. LYLITHLAVEY.com. That's my official page. Updates every week. Go check it out. And then my Twitter is just at Lylith LaVey. And I'll tell you what, anybody that follows me today says something about hearing my interview on here, I will follow you back.
There you go. That's a nice way to get some follows, and
Yeah.
Now,
if we get a certain amount of them, maybe I'll post a dirty picture. I'll see.
There you go. We'll have to get all the followers up tonight once this is on the website for everybody to hear.
There we go.
But one of the things I want to note too is because I have a good relationship with Creekside Cabaret in Montgomery County, and you're going to be coming back out this way very shortly, right? In the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
So what, next weekend?
Yes.
Or the weekend? Yeah, next weekend, right? The
Oh,
19th?
good God! I hope it's not that soon. No,
Yeah.
it's I'm coming out on the 18th, and I have 2 shows on the 19th and 2 shows on the 20th, and I have already. I didn't tell anybody this, so just be quiet.
Okay, exclusive.
I've already been given permission to do flyer.
Nice.
Which is kind of rare out there in the smaller clubs. But the stage I looked up is beautiful. The poles are very, very high. And I don't know, I know there's going to be people there that have just been to my Pennsylvania show a couple months ago, but I will be bringing back Pope LaVey, which is one of my most popular feature dancing costumes.
Is that the one that is like red and black on your Twitter and everything?
Yeah.
That's actually a really kick-ass costume.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
So you'll be there and you'll be able to take, pictures and signing autographs of fans?
I do everything if I have time.
Okay.
I pictures, sign autographs, within reason. If they bring stuff from home, I'll sign, a few of them, and then they're going to have to, tip me or whatever. The best, if people would like dances or especially like champagne rooms, I get booked up kind of quickly for that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest maybe giving the club a call ahead of time, which is, it sounds cheesy, but if somebody really wants to see me, I would be flattered, and I will definitely make sure that the admission for them is taken care of.
And definitely, because you had already mentioned earlier in the podcast that you enjoy giving lap dances, so
I do.
Seize the opportunity.
Yeah. I love that look on a guy's face where he's enjoying the lap dance, and then I do one more of my moves, for lack of a better term, and look back at his face, and he's just like, all at once, that face that says, oh, this is awesome, and I might have just gotten myself into trouble. I don't know if I should continue.
Yes, he's going to go home with some sticky pants. But that
well, way to just put it right how you said I'm blunt. God damn.
Well, hey, I told you have to catch up to me. You knew this the first 30 seconds going in.
All right. In my defense, I'm pretty good at knowing when to just jump up, and it's only happened to me once or twice, but both times I was like, okay, and I just held my hand out, and I was like, well, you just bought this outfit, and it's expensive, so.
So you've actually had guys just blow their load just from a lap dance?
Yes.
That's skills.
Well, it's a whole new level of freaky. I've had guys come in and tell me, because I was getting worried and kind of, getting off their lap, oh, don't worry about it. I went in the bathroom and I put a condom on. I'm like, wait, you what now? So they're getting very MacGyverish. I don't know. I don't know if I should give them points for that or not. Yes and no. It's creepy, but if it keeps it away from me.
Well, do they think they got some kind of super sperm that's going to go through all the layers?
I don't care about that. It's just, if it goes through their pants and I feel it on my leg, or, that's it. Then your dance is done, and you better have a very nice tip for me, or I'm going to probably bring you back to your childhood and take you back to school for a minute.
Well, hopefully you don't have any of those bad experiences, and you should all check her out.
I'm generally a lot of fun on stage.
You should all check her out at Creekside Cabaret, and
please do.
The 19th
bring your girlfriends.
and 20th.
I love to play with the ladies on stage too.
There you go. Bring the girlfriend up on stage and let her just seduce your girlfriend. Subject her to it. I would be watching it. I'd be down.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want the fans to know before we end?
I am working on a new show, and I will actually be debuting it the last show of the last night that I am there. That's all I'm going to say about it. But
Okay. So major
if
teaser.
Yes.
But we already know that you're a bit of a tease anyway, so it should be already known that you were going to tease some special performance.
Well, I'll try not to have 16 orgasms on my way all the way up that pole, and we'll see what happens.
And if you are, please post them on Twitter. You know, like take little videos of them happening. You know, like
I think this is the first time actually I admitted that in an interview, so I can't wait to see what kind of hilarious, sarcastic comments fans come up with when they come to see me, and that's fine. They know I have a great sense of humor, so I love it.
Well, I wish we could have had you orgasm during the podcast. That would have been awesome. I'm still waiting for that one talent to be on the podcast.
I'm too violent to hold the phone and do it at the same time. No, what were you saying?
The phone would end up hitting the floor. We're like, are you okay? Or have you been assaulted?
Oh, yeah, well, one toy isn't enough. I need like a jackhammer and a Hitachi.
Well, next time you come on the podcast, you got to bring those along, because we're looking for the first guest that's going to get off on the podcast. So if you're up for the challenge, I mean, I'm gonna need somebody to kind of narrate, because if it's just completely quiet, that'll kill it for me. So we'll have to think of a solution for that. Yeah, I mean, I could do
play-by-play. So you figure that out, and I'm down.
I'll provide the narration. You provide the toys and the pussy and the orgasm.
You're gonna tell me a sexy story.
I'm gonna tell you a sexy story. Do I make you horny? Yeah, you know, just whatever you want me to say. You know, DM me what you like me to say, and I will read it in my best Walter Cronkite voice, or whatever voice you want me to read it in.
Thank you so much for having me on here. Sorry it took so long to schedule.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and we hope to see more of you, and see you at Creekside Cabaret.
Absolutely, you better.
Alrighty, we'll talk to you real soon.
All right.
Yeah,
bye-bye. Take care, everybody. Bye. Hi, everybody. This is Lylith LaVey with Mixmaster B on MMB Radio.